Well, there's always something to do on this MG project. This is a rear shock, and we're going to fill it with oil. And this is a Luvax Girling shock, and one of the things that the book says, one of the few things, is that the best way to fill this with oil to make sure that it's working properly is to clamp it to a plate, put the plate in the vise so that it's bolted square, and you can work this arm up and down while you're putting the fluid in to make sure that it's getting full stroke in both directions and get all the air out of it. So what we've had to do, or what we're going to have to do, we used our center punch here to mark 2 holes. To have to drill 2 7/16 holes in this plate, this 1/4 inch plate, and bolt the shock to that plate, and then we'll get it in the vise and see if we can figure out how to get the oil in and get it to work. We just happen to have this 1/4 inch plate, lucky for us. Drilled a couple of holes in it, bolted the shock to it so we can mount it in the vise, and you can work the arm on the shock. We have some genuine, well, maybe not genuine, but it's lever arm shock fluid formulated for British Girling and Armstrong lever arm shock absorbers. So we'll see if we can put a little bit of this in there, see what happens. We're supposed to fill it up, fill this hole up until you get to the little top of the where the plug goes. I'm sure this will take quite a bit. We'll get some in there. At the same time, we want to move the arm through its travel. You get the air out, get the oil in there. Drip, drop, drip, drop, drip, drop. Trying not to make a mess here. Should feel the same resistance in both directions. Go full stroke. Seems to be a lot easier on bump than it is on rebound, but I'm going to assume that's compression, that's droop or rebound. Let's see if we probably just need more oil in it. Starting to get pretty stiff on the downstroke there. Not very stiff on the upstroke. Getting heavy that way. Yeah, it's starting to get heavy. Get some more oil in it. Get the air out of it. Yeah, almost going to take 2 hands to do that. Yeah, got smoke coming out of there now. Wow. Oh boy. Plenty stiff that way. Yeah, we get her filled up. Might work. You need, oh boy. You get some resistance there now. Sending smoke signals. I don't know what that's about. I hope it don't catch fire. That's pretty cool. I just sit there all day and do that. Oh man, look at that. And they want to move the other way now. Arrgh. Holy moly. Okay, well, we got some resistance now. Yeah, we'll check the fluid and get back to it here in a minute. Well, we got it full of fluid, and we certainly have resistance in both directions. I don't have the bolts tightened right now. So we have good news, but we also have bad news, because it looks like we've got a leak around this shaft. There's probably a seal in there, and you know, there's probably a good reason why there wasn't any oil in there to start with. It had to go somewhere. At any rate, we'll have to do a little more thinking and research. I don't think there's any easy way to get these things apart to repair them. Maybe a case where you got to send it off somewhere and have some professional work on it. We got 3 more of them to do. We'll see how the rest of them look and go from there. So here's the drill. This is a front shock. The one we had on it before is a rear shock. What's going on here is that in behind here you have this arm here and rod that runs through the center that actuates the shock. There's seals in here, and those seals notoriously go bad, and on that rear shock that we had, that's where the fluid is dripping out, and doesn't make a lot of sense to fill it up with fluid if it's just going to leak out. So there's a couple of things you can do there. You can send them off someplace and have some professional rip into them and put some new seals in and rebuild them, or you can try to fix it yourself. From what I understand, there's a metal plug on the back side of this housing, like a freeze plug you got to knock out, and then you can push this shaft out and replace the seals and put the whole thing back together. Maybe. But since they're no good, pretty hard to screw them up. So I think what we're going to try to do before we go too much further is replace the seals ourselves and see what happens. Now on this particular one, I see that this front, that this arm is splined on that shaft, so we might be able to pull that off of there and dig the seal out and put it back together. On the rear ones, the shaft comes through and it's peened over the end of the arm, so what you would have to do is grind all that off of there in order to get the arm off, and you'd still have to dig the seal out, and then you'd have to figure out how to put the arm back on again and keep it on there. So that doesn't make a lot of sense, but we'll do a little more research on these fronts and see if we can't pull this arm off, put some new seals in there, and then we'll get into the back ones. That'll be a video for another day.